Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to APU Assist You Online. Today we're going to review Period 3, just the total review in a very short lesson, 10 minutes. So this will help you for your DBQ, okay, your Period 3 DBQ. Great. Let's get started. Boom. All right. Okay. So Period 3, 1754 to 1800, we finished that this week. We also finished Period 4, but I'm not going to do Period 3 and Period 4 combined. That'd be a little bit too much. Besides, we're going to focus on Period 3 because we're going to do our DBQ in Period 3. All right. So in Period 3, guys, we have the French and Indian War. This is important because it builds up contextualization for the American Revolution. Chances are you could have a DBQ on the American Revolution, and you'd have to talk about the French and Indian War's causal link to the American Revolution. It's called the 7 Years' War in Europe, although it was 9 years. If you look at the years, look at them, it adds up to 9, right? But that's because the first 2 years were there wasn't really a lot of fighting. Most natives were going to side with the French, right? And why is that reason? Well, the French were not invading their lands as much as the British, and they just wanted to trade fur. They were better trading partners. They were more open. They would have better relationships. Remember, the French were more open to having a marital relationship with the natives. They were more chill. Spoiler alert. Great. So Britain, England wins, right? France is removed from North America. They lose Canada. They lose everything. The natives aren't going to like that, guys. The natives are going to start to get more triggered and start to fight the colonists a lot more often. It's going to because the British colonists are going to go past the Appalachian Mountains. It's going to lead to Pontiac's Rebellion. Okay, Pontiac's Rebellion is this line. Proclamation line of 1763 is going to be established because of Pontiac, right? So Pontiac, the Native Americans in the Ohio River Valley, they're going to be sad that the French are gone. They're not going to be able to trade with the French. All those amazing beaver furs, it was all a lucrative business for making the Lacoste shirts, or I don't know. But yeah, the settlers, all the poor people are going to want to move west to have their own farm, and the natives are going to hate that. So the British are like, oh no, we paid lots of money to protect you in the French and Indian War, and we're not going to send more troops to help you because that costs money. So there's a new law, don't go past this line. And the settlers, the colonists, right, they're like, dude, they're taking away our freedom. England is starting to take away our freedom. We don't like it. They're ending salutary neglect. So Britain has a huge debt from the war, the 7 Years' War, right, the French and Indian War. So they're going to end salutary neglect. The salutary neglect, remember, is the chill approach, the hands-off approach that England had with the colonies. Like, yeah, they had rules, they had the navigation acts and different taxation laws, but the colonists were smuggling still, and they really didn't obey the laws. And Britain knew about it, but they just didn't do anything about it. It'd be like in class if I said, hey, you cannot chew gum in class. I enforce it. Or, there's a teacher that they say there's no chewing gum, but they never really check, and they might see you chewing gum, but as long as you don't spit it on the ground or something, they don't do anything about it, right? That's salutary neglect, right? So how does Britain show that they're ending salutary neglect with these new laws, right? So the Stamp Act, Townshend Acts, and Tolerable Acts, all these taxation laws are going to show that Britain is changing their relationship with the colonies. So the colonists hate it. They hate the taxes. They make this in response, right? Cause and effect. This is a very good causation or changing continuity over time type of essay, type of question. Stamp Act Congress, Committees of Correspondence, the First Continental Congress. Okay, these are going to be in response. So these would be examples you would use to show that there is some changes happening, and there is some cause and effect going on, right? Elites, they're going to unite against the British, right? The business owners were the ones affected by the taxes. The regular colonists weren't really, they were like, what? I don't buy that stuff, so why do I care? But the elites were able to manipulate the media and get everyone rallied around this cause, right? So at first, things are going to change, right? They might ask the question like we did in the lessons this week, and we're going over that question. Well, what's going to change? How's the attitude going to change from 1763 or 1754 all the way to 1787, right, after the American Revolution? First, they just wanted it to go back to normal. Like, okay, salutary neglect. We're part of Britain, but you let us do what we want. You let us kind of run our own show. But then we have prolific writers like Thomas Paine writing stuff like Common Sense that says, hey, there's no turning back, guys. We have to break away. We need the Declaration of Independence. Then the Declaration of Independence shows all the problems that King George III was causing. They list the grievances, kind of like a divorce. They're like, hey, it's not working out. We're breaking up. These are the reasons why. And so the Common Sense and the Declaration of Independence, common sense is going to be influenced by the Enlightenment, right? Like natural rights, consent of the governed. Good. Why did the colonists win the war? They had the home field advantage, guys. Anytime you're fighting a war, if you are fighting a defensive war and you're repelling an invasion, usually you have you have an advantage in that regard because you have knowledge of the land. Not only that, but also it's easier to manipulate the battlefield when you're playing a home field, right? Washington was a great military leader, and he was able to choose other generals that were going to make the right decisions. They had a cause, right? They had a strong belief, so they had more heart. The British, they didn't care. The soldiers, they're like, dude, if I die, I don't get paid. They also hired mercenaries, right? They weren't fighting for a cause or freedom. They were just fighting to get paid, guys. France backed us up. That's a huge factor. France wanted revenge for the French and Indian War after they lost. So France is going to help us after 1777 in the Battle of Saratoga. That proved to France that we could actually win, and we weren't just like a bunch of low-life hooligan pirate, losers. We were actually organized, and we were there to win, right? We weren't just going to give up. Okay, 1783. So we talk about the Artists' Confederation. This is created during the American Revolution to run the country while we are fighting England and after the war as well. The only problem was that as a weak central government, they couldn't tax. There's no president, no executive branch. They were really paranoid about tyranny and dictatorships. So most of the power is reserved for the states. So it's not really a country. It's just like a team of states. Each state had its own policy for trading with other countries. They're not going to want to chip in for taxes. They're going to fight with each other a lot. And so trade problems are going to emerge. It's going to hurt the economy. There's a lot of debt after the war, after the American Revolution. There's a lot of debt. The states are fighting, trying to alleviate their own debt. It wasn't all bad, though. Look, here's the Northwest Territory, 1787. This was pretty good at introducing new states. You can see Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, where my law school is. And what's cool is that this is the first place where slavery is illegal, right? They're not going to allow slavery in the Northwest Territory, Northwest Ordinance. So the Northwest Land Ordinance is a success for the Artists' Confederation. So after 60,000 people, you could become a state, ban slavery. That's going to start the debate over slavery, guys. That's the first place where, okay, the northern region is not going to have slavery. So you would mention that if you're talking about the causal change or the change of continuity over time regarding slavery and like sectional tension and division in the country. There's going to be some hostility, right? The Paxton Boys in Pennsylvania, Shays Rebellion. These issues are going to test the Artists' Confederation. The Artists' Confederation are not going to be able to handle it. More importantly, Shays Rebellion, right? It was over-taxation, farmers losing their land. Paxton Boys, they were just kind of like terrorists. They were racist against certain religious groups and certain ethnic groups, and they were causing a lot of terror and hostility for people. And since there was no standing army, people were all volunteering. It was hard for the country to cope with these crises, these emergencies. Kind of like today, we might see that there's some issues. and our response to pandemics, because this should have never happened, guys. If it was handled the right way, well, I don't think we would have to have shut down everything. All right, so impact of the Declaration of Independence and the American Revolution. Revolutions in France, Haiti, Latin America. So this would be like a complexity point in a DBQ, right? So how did the American Revolution, how did the Declaration of Independence impact other parts of the world? Well, we have the French Revolution, we have the Haitian Revolution in Haiti, in the Caribbean. They fought the French, sugar plantations, and Africans were able to defeat their white, masters and take over the country. Latin America, Mexico, Bolivia, Colombia, they're all getting their independence. That's the storming of the Bastille right there. Some people wanted, this idea of equality, right? Abigail Adams wanted women's rights. Pennsylvania was pretty awesome. They're like, dude, we should let slaves be free. Let's have this emancipation law. At least let's not let the children of slaves be slaves, because that's really weird. And leave it to Pennsylvania. Remember, they have the Quakers. They were the most progressive and most open-minded. But the Constitution, they wanted to get it ratified, so they postponed the issue of slavery, right? There's some stuff that deals with slavery. So the Great Compromise, Three-Fifths Compromise just deals with representation. And the Slave Trade Compromise, that's where it's like, okay, well, we'll deal with slavery in 20 years because we want to get the Constitution ratified right now. So they just ignored the issue of slavery. If they were hardcore, they could have been like, you know what, our new country's not going to have slavery. But they were scared. They didn't want the economy to collapse, and so they just wanted to get on with it. It wasn't a big deal for them. So the Constitution is going to be ratified after compromising, and the Bill of Rights would be added. That was the big debate between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, right? Are the rights going to be protected? Anti-Federalists are all paranoid. Okay, so Spain is playing hardball. France, England, they're all messing with us because they know that we're a new country. We're kind of not as strong as them. So Spain has access to the Mississippi River, right? And the Mississippi River is like one of the main rivers in America. It leads to New Orleans, which is a huge trading center. So Pinckney's Treaty, we're going to make a deal with Spain, and we're going to get access to New Orleans. Eventually, we'll buy the Louisiana Purchase and get New Orleans. We're going to make treaties with Native Americans. We're going to want to take more and more land from them. Washington, in his farewell address, he said, let's worry about two things. Don't do political parties. Don't have foreign alliances with like France or England. We can't avoid to get into another war. But no one listened to him, right? They're like, oh, whatever, dude. Like Washington, remember he died? He had a sore throat. And the doctor was like, oh, dude, you just got to bleed the bad blood out. So they hung him upside down or I don't know, maybe hung him upside down. And they just cut him a bunch of times. Maybe the doctor was too hopped up on something, and he cut Washington too many times. When he came back from lunch, Washington was dead. He had bled to death. And so, that's pretty sad, guys. Debates over the power of the government. Yeah. So the Federalists are going to have power first. They're going to be more... They came up with the Constitution because they wanted a stronger central government, right? And so there's going to be some pushback. The Anti-Federalists, like Jefferson, the Jeffersonian Democratic Republicans, they're going to be kind of going against some of the Federalist extensions of power. They're going to call out like Hamilton for making the national bank. They're also going to call out John Adams when he passes the controversial Alien and Sedition Acts, right? And so the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions go against the Alien and Sedition Acts, right? Like, can states just ignore federal law? The answer is no. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but they're going to try it anyway, right? They're going to try it anyway because there was no judicial review power for the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court couldn't check if laws were constitutional or not yet. That'll happen in 1803 with Marbury versus Madison. And so this debate over states' rights versus the federal government will continue until the Civil War, right? Okay. Republican motherhood, guys, super important. Women, they're not going to get very many rights. They're not going to get the right to vote or own land, divorce rights. They're going to have limited rights, so they'll be like second-class citizens in a sense. The way that they'll get representation is they'll teach their kids, they'll instill Republican virtues, right, liberty, natural rights, in their children, but they're not going to be able to vote directly. It's like they teach their sons, and the sons vote on their behalf, right? And that doesn't sound very equal. So you can't teach your sons correctly if you're going to be dumb. So women were actually getting access to education, so that's a victory, right? Take what you can get at this point. But it's not enough, right? Women are going to be subjugated by society. They're going to establish these rigid societal norms, these rigid gender roles. Good. Totally took this off apreview.com, but that guy always puts the pictures over the fill in the blanks. So that's our review for today, guys. Not a very long lesson. I want you to focus more on your DBQ. It's unlocked on AP Classroom. It's on Period 3. And I'll be issuing out and submitting the Period 2 DBQs along with the exemplar today to help you with your new Period 3 DBQ, which will be due by Monday. All right? Have a good weekend, guys. Study hard and do your best on your document-based question. Please try to take 45 minutes. You got to train yourself for that time, because that's when the time is over, guys, that's it. Come May 15th, you can't do it in 45 minutes. You're done skis. Okay? Oh, also, another thing, guys. Yes, so with the DBQ, you'll be able to write it by hand and take a picture of it on your phone and submit it. So I've noticed, yeah, some of you type really slow, unfortunately, and so that is a disadvantage, but that's okay. You can write it by hand like normal and then take a picture of it and submit it on a College Board. Okay, you could do that with me too. Actually, no, you have to type it out. I'm sorry. I want it to be on the internet. I want it to be on AP Classroom.